Hello, everyone, and I'm just going to turn my mic down slightly. Welcome to Terra Mystica Tuesday League. This is the Premier League game. Thank you so much for hanging tight. Took us a little while to get this game going. We just had a player that needed a few extra minutes to get to the table, but we're pretty much ready to go. I've also got Barnawal, who is streaming with me as well this evening, and he's going to comment on the game. Say hi, Barnawal.
Hey everyone, happy to be here. And yeah, as usual, well, whenever I cast, I'm always excited to do it. So I can't wait for this game to start. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be really great. I'm hoping folks can just let me know if our like how our volumes are. I'm just doing slightly different settings than I normally would for like an open table stream. So just let me know if, yeah, if my volume needs to go up or down in relation to Barnwell. Just let me know in chat. Yeah, so without further ado, I think I'll let these guys know that they can start the game. I believe that we are playing Loon Lakes with landscapes. Yeah, tonight. Uh,
Yeah, it's a bit of a flashback or a throwback to the last arena season, where NerdCube finished first. So on the surface, it seems like an advantage for NerdCube, but although I know DPS played a lot in the arena season too, I'm not sure about Logus or Vistagoa, but definitely plays up NerdCube's strengths, that's for sure.
yeah, 100%. I think Nerd Cube's definitely played a couple of games on this on these settings for sure. All right, let's get this underway.
Alrighty. So right off the bat, looking at the setup a bit, I'm looking at. I'll start by looking at the track, and the first thing I look at is last round temples.
Mm-hmm.
And well, round four big buildings and round five towns, and the last round temples, which I'd say is like a moderate scoring, like a moderate amount of scoring. Round five town is a pretty high scoring event.
Yep.
Round four big building can be good for a lot of factions, like nomads, for example. It's kind of a natural time to build it. And round six temples is low scoring, for sure, but can be really good for swarmlings and chaos magicians. So like I wouldn't say I don't know. At a first glance, at least no particular faction like stands out as amazing for me here. Um, we'll have to
Mm-hmm.
analyze it a little further though.
Yeah, for sure. I totally hear you on the Swarmlings pick, at least as far as the track goes. I also think, given that we're playing with landscapes, there's definitely more room to sort of hit this town event late. With landscape Swarmlings, like oftentimes you can town up early for 2 keys and then try to still hit this town round for maybe a town in round 5 and maybe even a final one in round 6. Uh, One of the issues I do see with Swarmlings here, and we do see them picked already, is that there is no big building pass tile in the game, which is a little bit annoying for them for sure. Um, but yeah, I think that's
Yeah, the more I actually kind of like it for swarms now that I think about it more. I mean, aside from the big building pass being missing, you see round two and three trading posts, which swarmlings will use
yep.
their ability to build a trading post each of those rounds. It's not a huge deal, but it's just some nice points for them that other factions may not be getting. If they want, they can delay their sanctuary to round four. They don't have to, but it's an option.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, with the landscape, they might be able to hit two towns round five. Um, and then temples round six is great for them. Maybe if they're lucky, they get a double dig round one even. This is kind of like an ideal scenario here, but I think the only thing missing is the big building pass tile. Other than that, everything looks quite good for them in my opinion.
Right. Right. I think there's also like another consideration is this is one of those like setups where first seat isn't going to get a great pass tile. There's really only 3 decent starting pass tiles, and they're not even like we also don't have the spade, so it's hard to say who like what fourth seat will take. Like it could even be temp ship. Like it really could be any of these. It's probably going to be like worker power or temp ship, which means first seat. It'll be interesting to see how what gets picked here. Swarmlings might take the 3 power just to get the double dig in the dig round. They might go for the cult coins. Could be 6 coins. It's really hard to say how that's going to be played. Um, but
Yeah, we see halflings put in the second faction by Deep Finesse. So it's not Orin, but it's another kind of unusual pick, which Deep Finesse likes a lot. We've kind of seen them enough now to know he almost always puts something weird in the auction.
for
I
sure,
don't think halflings is a faction that a lot of people have put in here.
no.
Um,
For
it's
anyone,
hard to like really.
oh sorry,
Sorry,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like it's hard to like I don't know. I have trouble assessing halflings in games that aren't round three or round four dig rounds because those are just what everyone's used to playing halflings as. But they have, I think, a little more flexibility than people, I guess, give them credit for. Like you can use their dig advances as more of a scoring play late if you can get a lot of spades in other ways. And in this game, there's a lot of cold spades, so maybe Halflings could play like a Cultier game, get spades off the Colts, and then kind of build a couple temples in round 6 to lock up Colts to advance stake late to score. I don't really know. I'm trying to think of some different paths for them because there's not an obvious path to playing Halflings here, other than really using the great ground territory that Lakes has, I'd say.
100%. Yeah, for sure. For anyone who's not as familiar with Lakes, Lakes is sort of known for being like fairly friendly to brown. There's just like a lot of really good hexes that you can reach, particularly if you get some early shipping. Now, traditionally, like in last arena season, and I'm certainly guilty as charged, that there's a lot of cultists play. So I think this does, again, scream a bit of a classic, like, deep finesse line where he wants to be the person who ensures it's not cultists that are the brown faction on this, in this setup, but again, that it's halflings. Which is cool, which is sort of similar to Deep Finesse's Orin's pick on Fire and Ice, I feel.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's almost maybe it's more of an anti-cultist pick than even a halflings pick, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know if he really doesn't want cultists in this game or in particular. But he's also like I think it plays to his strengths because defense is really good at finding weird paths that you would never think to look for when you're playing.
Yeah.
So if he can get a good deal on halflings, for example, as a 30 faction, and if he has a good idea of how to play them here, how to play them well, then that could be really something that something that could be right up his alley. Basically, that could kind of play into his strengths.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the more unusual setups that other players might struggle a bit more, like uncomfortable color wheels, like stranger faction matchups, like Deep Finesse is just gonna like thrive in those environments, like at least in comparison to his opponents. So yeah, I think it makes a good bit of sense actually here. We do see Logus running his clock down, but
Oh, you called it. He picked Darklings. So you predicted that before the game.
Did I say that? What were my picks? Swarmlings, Giants, or Darklings? I feel like are
I think
Logus
you
factions.
said, yeah, Giants or Darklings, something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's impressive. Nice.
There we go. Now I don't know BC Goa as well as a player. I haven't played with him as much. Have you played with BC Goa in the past? I'm just curious if you have any before he snap picks something here. Do you have any guesses of what he might want to toss in?
I've never played with BCGO before, so I don't really know. I don't really have I don't really know his tendencies or what kind of a player he is. It's kind of interesting because he's picking into what's already a sandwich here. Like Darklings are sandwiched between Halflings and Swarmlings.
Yes.
So I'll be curious to see if he kind of continues the sandwich, if he sandwiches something else, or if he kind of goes the other way. And he picked Dwarves, so he did go with a non-sandwich faction.
Yes.
So, but no, I don't really know BCGO's tendencies. So I'm curious to watch him. This is his chance, kind of to. This is his chance to make a mark if he can at least. So no, I'm interested to see how he does here.
Yeah, this is a really interesting pick because, when you have 3 colors in a row on the color wheel, anything that you grab on the other side is going to be incredibly powerful. So in this case, it would be like a red or a gray faction would be on the other side of this 3 in a row. And I think in a lot of like Lakes arena games last season, you'd see engineers being picked here. They're a very popular faction on this map. Whereas dwarves, people were a little bit more cautious to sort of play on Loon Lakes. They're a little bit trickier to play. So, but it's kind of nice that dwarves were thrown in here because when you have like 3 in a row here, if you picked engineers as the gray faction on the other end of the color wheel, I think they would just have to be bid down so much that it would just be like it would just create like a pretty kind of lopsided auction. But throwing dwarves in, it'll just be interesting to see how people evaluate this. Like you have dwarves, which aren't a very strong historic faction on this map, but they are on the other end of the color wheel. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys evaluate that.
Yeah, and looking at the picks, everyone's already jumped onto a faction except for Bisagoa. Nerdcube jumped on Swarmlings, which you picked. Defense on the Darklings, and Logan on the Halflings at 30. So this is something you rarely see at a high level play, I'd say. Often you see it with lower level players where they pick the faction they put in regardless of the scenario, regardless of the color matchup or setup. But usually with higher level players, just like a clear like hierarchy in the factions. But this could be a case we might have 430 factions here. It's not impossible. Like there's wars with no color neighbor that's left right now. That Bisago can take for 30 points.
Yep.
I wonder if he will. It's gotta be pretty tempting.
Yeah, they'd probably. How are these pastiles going to break down? I assume dwarves are going to take worker. Oh my goodness, we do have 430 picks here. What a way to start the game off.
That's amazing.
Yeah, pretty incredible.
I mean, who do you like here? Who do you think who do you think got the best deal of these? I find it
Um,
really hard to assess at the start. I'm not very good at it. That's why I'm asking you first, so I can have some time to think about it.
I, gosh, this is tricky. Sandwich Darklings. I mean, maybe they're well. I don't know. The track is a bit of a nightmare for Darklings. Um, this is tricky. Maybe Swarmlings. I think I probably like Swarmlings here the best. I mean, the only thing I really don't like about Swarmlings is that the two worker tile is in. But like, I need to not like overvalue that too much. Like, um, yeah, they're on the edge of the sandwich. Like, they're okay with that. This is a fine map for them. They're a generically overpowered faction. The track is pretty decent for them. Yeah, I think Swarmlings probably are best, and then maybe Darklings, but I don't really know.
Yeah, I like Swarmlings as well too. I think the more I look at it, I think they can work around the not having the big building pass tile, and they can find a path. Dwarves to me are the most like volatile of all these factions. Like I think dwarves can have a great game, but they have the potential to have a bad game if they get blocked unexpectedly somewhere. Like halflings, well, really all three of these factions, halflings, swarmlings, and darklings have the potential to be blocky. They all can advance digs, or in the case of darklings, use their priest to dig pretty easily. So they can just throw an extra priest somewhere if they feel the need to block dwarves. So it's a bit maybe riskier playing dwarves. And the other thing for dwarves is that the bonus tiles aren't very good for them. Both the shipping tiles are in, the temp ship and the ship pass tile, and they're missing some of their favorite tiles, which would be the spade, the big building tile, and probably dwelling pass as well.
Right.
So, uh, like it's like the setup doesn't seem ideal for them, but at the same time they have no color neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own faction inherent scoring.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's I don't know. It's hard to assess. I think I agree with you. I think I like Swarmlings here the best, but I feel like any of these factions can have a really good game. I guess of all of them, I'm the least sold on halflings. Um, despite despite Brown territory being very good in this map, I think if Logos really wanted halflings, he could have just bid another faction down a bit. I don't think anyone else is gonna jump on the halflings that fast. But
No.
I know maybe he wants a faster game. He just want to get things going. Maybe that was his mindset. I don't really know.
Yeah, and then I'm also getting a little bit like some people are saying that halflings might just be the best here because they're the brown faction. I'm also getting some sarcasm in chat saying, yeah, map is fairly friendly for brown. I think that was the way I described them earlier on to the stream, which I think is probably the understatement of the century. Um,
Yeah, it's incredible for Brown.
yeah.
Although with Darklings in, it's probably a little bit more annoying. Admittedly, I didn't play a ton in the last arena season, so I don't know the nuances of lakes that well, like with the color matchups. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, looking into the well, I guess halflings can get around pretty well with shipping. They'll probably advance shipping fairly early, um, or they use temp ship. So yeah, I guess they'll be fine with that.
Yeah, I think with most brown factions like cultists or halflings, I think they're happier to see black in the game than they are yellow. Um, Fakirs can be a nightmare to play against brown on this map, and then nomads just starting with three dwellings is also a nightmare. So I think, yeah, if you're gonna have a color neighbor as halflings on this map, I think you would prefer darklings here. And I think like we do see deep finesse sort of choose the sort of standard Darklings openings on lakes, which is B4 and E3, this sort of double west kind of setup. And so Darklings will, for the most part, mainly sort of stay to that western part of the map. So there's, yeah, certainly like lots of expansion opportunities for halflings in, yeah, basically the eastern part of the map. I
Okay, and how do you think the pastiles will break down here? Like I think at the start dwarves take I'm gonna guess worker three power, but they
mm-hmm.
could go for a priest as well. Darklings like Deep Finesse could do temp ship and do a bit of a dwelling rush, but he's probably not gonna have any neighbors down the southwest there, so I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. So you might take either the priest or worker three power, whatever is left. And that would leave Logos with I guess he can't oh maybe he could use temp ship and take a black hex and get another dwelling down. Or just coin cult step and that would leave Swarmlings with the other one. I don't know. Do you think that makes sense? Or do you think dwarves would start with the priest instead of worker 3 power?
I don't think dwarves start with a priest here, just because like the early Earth coins are like nice for dwarves, but it's not the same as if they were early Earth spades, right? And so
Right.
I think dwarves just take worker power. I don't think they get double dig here, but I think they just take worker power anyhow. Like, yeah, that's probably their best pick. Um, I imagine, I think the only reason I would take temp ship here as Darklings is if Swarmlings, because we're waiting for Nerdcube to place his second dwelling. If Nerdcube started H4, which isn't a completely uncommon starting spot for Swarmlings, H4 or H6, but if they started H4 and Darklings didn't take temp ship and that was able to make its way up to first seat, then Swarmlings would just be able to take H3 and H2 round one. So if Nerdcube starts H4 and I'm Darklings, I would start temp ship, but he doesn't. So I think Darklings just take the priest here. And I'm not sure whether halflings will try to incorporate temp ship as part of their opening or whether they'll just take a bunch of coins. That I'm not really sure. But there definitely is lots of utility out of like a temp ship opening. Yeah, and he does.
Oh yeah, he did go temp ship. I guess it's even more incentive for that, guaranteeing the double dig in a dig round here at the start. That's always nice.
Yeah, or
But and just getting dwellings down, of course, too. Especially with the next 2 rounds being trading post rounds. I don't know if he will upgrade, but it's kind of a natural. It's a natural way to develop here. It's just getting as many dwellings out as you can in the first round. Oh, sorry, never mind. Nurkic took a double dig.
Yeah.
Power for the double dig.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I forgot that bonus was in play.
Yeah, and in classic lakes, we're going to see all the spades go in the first two actions. So there are the spades. Yep. All the spades are gone in round one within about 10 seconds of the round starting.
Just like that.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, it makes perfect sense with no spade bonus being in the game. With it being a spade round, not that it matters too much, but yeah, that territory, as you said, in lakes is so important, and especially with high-level players, just getting your economy going and getting key hexes is more critical than something like Earth 1, for example. Well, especially with Swarmlings in the game is never a rush, but just in general, everyone knows what to prioritize.
Yep.
So I guess that does make it a little bit difficult for dwarves, getting no spades in the first round here. Of course, Deep Finesse has priests he can use to dig with, so he has his own spades. Everyone else has spades, but he's going to be a little bit lonely. And he only has one neighbor, so it's not like he can do something crazy maybe and go for a double temple opening, which I don't know if that makes sense here anyways. But he might have a bit of a slow start. Although if he can get double dig in the next round, I think he's still in business, which he probably can. He's getting plenty of leech, so it should be fine to get that. But yeah, I guess maybe you can see why no one else is too keen to bid on dwarves here. It's a bit slow compared to everyone else to start.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be interested to see how BC Goa handles this. I assume this is Earth 2. I feel like this is way too slow of a start to just temple up for Earth 1. And it is definitely Earth 2. That'll help. I'll be interested.
Yeah, I think that's a good decision.
With the priest gone, he also doesn't have any tunnel opportunities, so he can't just even take the workers and try to get another dwelling out. And to add to that the awkwardness, if he passes early, he's just passing for a bunch of coins, which seems a little bit underwhelming. So I don't know. We might just see an early pass for 7 coins from BC Goa, and just opening next round with a double dig.
It probably seems like the best option. If you can get away with it, it'd be nice for him to pass for the coin cult step and get a priest to air and get another spade in the air cult there. That'll also pay off later with the workers, but I don't know if you can still do that and get double dig next round. It'd have to. They're all playing too fast for me to do the math on that.
Yeah.
But that could be okay if he gets that.
He does indeed pass. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very, very fast round. So if we look at what everyone else is doing, it's still pretty standard so far. Nothing crazy to speak of yet. No. Someone took a priest. So Deep Finesse took a priest. So he's loaded up with priests. He's got 3 priests. Do you think he uses them all for digging, or do you think he maybe throws a priest to Earth? What would you do here if you're Darklings?
That's a good question. What are Darklings going to do here? Yeah, so he's going to temple up. I think the thing is with Darklings here is I think he does dig with both of these hexes, or he uses all 3 of these priests for digging. And part of the problem with Darklings on this map is that you don't immediately have access to cheap hexes. So, right, so he can dig A6, but then after that, his next cheapest hexes that he can dig are 3 yellows. Given that it is a dig round, and he has the workers to do it, I think Deep Finesse, this is a temple for Fire 1, maybe Earth 2, and then it's just 2 more dwellings. It's 100% what I would do. I might even go right around halflings and take A7. Is this Earth?
Yeah,
And it is Earth 2.
yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense for Deep Finesse. And yeah, Logo's taking Earth 2. Everyone, there's an Earth 2 rush. All the Earth 2s are gone. Deep Finesse took Earth 2 as well, Starklings. Um, that's something you don't see too often. All the first 3 favors are all Earth 2. That's great. I mean, it makes a lot of sense with, of course, with the Earth Cult coins. For dwarves and halflings, there's I guess, a little bit of a worker shortage without the big building pass tile in the game. Um, it's just so funny seeing Earth 2 rush like that. It's so rare in a standard Terravisca game to see that.
Totally.
Nerdcube kind of just saying that he wanted Earth 2. Probably joking. Although it's not completely out of the question for Swarmlings to go Earth 2 in general. Although I guess in this game I don't think it makes a lot of sense. But that's hilarious to see. It's great.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It's possible we might see Nerdcube be the one to take Earth 1. Swarmlings, of course, are a faction that doesn't, well, other than you do sometimes see an Earth 2 pick, as you mentioned, but or Water 2. But for the most part, Swarmlings, when they temple up, do just go for a point scoring favor right away. And on lakes, again, with landscapes and opportunities to build, like, a big mega town in the east here, like, it's certainly possible that it's worth it for Swarmlings to just temple up for Earth 1 this game.
Yeah, I think it couldn't be that bad. If nothing else, it's about the same as Water 1. I think. I don't think it would be any worse. It takes away from another faction too, which presumably all these factions wouldn't mind taking Earth 1 later in the game. I'm curious to see what he does. He can't afford to build a temple this round, so he builds another dwelling.
Right.
And I guess there's not a ton of incentive for Swarmlings to play like a high network game though, because there's no. Usually, I find at least with Swarmlings, like you can play a high network game when there's a late dwelling round in particular. It's a great way to do it because you always have dwellings to build at the end of a game because of your free trading post upgrades.
Right.
But especially with temples last round, that's kind of like it's just a lot more natural to build up anyways with that.
Mm-hmm.
So and the cults are fairly open with halflings and darklings, so I'd expect Nerdcube to whether he takes Earth 1 or not, I don't expect him to play a really expansive game here at least.
Fair enough. And we do see Deep Finesse taking D4. I really like this from Deep Finesse a lot. I think this is really great. I sort of missed that he got enough leech to take workers and a priest, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, I like this too. He's kind of creating his own space in the board. Just getting Darklings for 30 is so rare in Terramystica. Like just having Darklings at 30 points, even if they're in a sandwich like this, I don't know, it always feels nice. So looking at how this first round's going, I have to think Deep Finesse is in a pretty good spot here.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what he passes on is a little awkward because I assume Nerdcube is going to pass here for worker power, which means Darklings can have another worker in a coin or try to make use of Temp Ship next round, which it's not obvious.
Nerdcube could pass in the trading post pass. Which, yeah, he just does it actually now.
Oh, that's nice
for Deep Finesse. It's great for Deep Finesse.
This is great. This is a great start. Deep Finesse is going into next round with 6 workers, which is pretty incredible. He'll have.
This just feels like typical Deep Finesse for me. Like you just have a 30-point faction, just like finds a way to have a great start out of it. Usually a great game, but like he always just seems to be in a good position. I don't know how, but I mean, I guess that's because he's a really good player. He's really skilled, but like he always just finds a way to put himself in a good spot.
Yeah, and of course the other amazing thing about this is that he's set himself up so that dwarves are going to dig through that whole center piece, C3, C2, and when he does, he's just going to give Darklings a ton of leech, and that's just going to really help him push his economy further.
Yeah, you really see the perks of Darkling starting kind of double center there.
Yeah.
I don't Because I mean, as I said, I haven't played too much lakes, but I think when I've played Darklings, I've usually started with one dwelling in the south and one in the north. But I mean, maybe this is. I guess there's a reason why this is kind of the standard because you can really see, but with dwarves in the game, with gray in the game, you can really see kind of the benefits of it, and it puts a lot of pressure on Bisagoa too. Like it's got to be a little. No, you can't. He kind of has to rush it for a double dig now, or I guess DFNS doesn't have the priest to take any of his hexes. But
No.
he's looking pretty squished in the middle there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think Bisagoa probably doesn't dig C3 this turn, though, is my guess. I'm expecting it's probably D6 and G2 just to provide some tunnel opportunities. Bisagoa is also probably going to want to spade E5 at some point. Uh, not too. Like, he's not going to want to wait that long to spade E5 and get his landscape down. That tends to be the traditional hex to get your landscape down. It allows you to jump up to B7 and down to H7. So my guess here is that this is D6 and then something in the south, but that he doesn't spade C3. But I'm not sure. I'm sure he has a lot of options here. He literally has 4 hexes he can spade. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's not obvious.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense because I don't think DPNS really wants C3. I mean, you couldn't take it this round anyways, but
No.
especially with a town round 5, there's not a lot of incentive for him to form an early town. I don't think he needs the economy. His economy looks pretty great already. He's not playing a culty game clearly, so there's no reason to rush for the 2-key town. Against Swarmlings and Dwarves, it doesn't make a ton of sense. So I think that Hex is pretty safe for him regardless. So I agree with you 100%. And I think Bisagoa's position here, I think he has to play a little risky. I don't think he's in a great spot. So I think if he plays really conservative, he's not. I don't think he can win if he plays really conservative. I think he has to take some risks here.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think the deep finesse is apt to want to save any expensive digging for F3. He may very well want to dig that hex to be able to form a town there. Having said that, though, I just realized that this is probably a situation. Oh, here we see the spades coming. This is probably a situation where Deep Finesse is building a second temple this turn, right? And not sanctuary. I mean, there's no big building bonus in the game for him to score off a sanctuary. This is probably he double temples and he sanctuaries in round 4. So maybe he doesn't need to dig F3. He can just put a temple on E3 or something like that. That can become a later sanctuary town, and then he can just dig up the north where he currently has a temple. Yeah, there's no pressure on those hexes.
Yeah, I think that would make a lot of sense. Also, I mean, I guess usually the upside of the sanctuary is it doesn't hurt your worker income as bad. But in this case, he has Earth 2. He has good worker economy, so he doesn't really have to worry too much about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, building a double temple, it fits the track a lot better. As you said, there's no strong sanctuary bonus tile, which is a big factor. So I'd expect him to do that as well. Nurcube does take the coins ahead of him, which Nurcube probably wanted them himself, but it's also somewhat at least of a denial move to Deep Finesse.
Oh yeah.
If Deep Finesse got the coins action there, he would have been absolutely rolling.
Yeah.
So I think Nurcube had to do that. I didn't see Logus before him sent a priest to air, which is also really nice for Logus. The double air rewards will pay off big time for sure. Yeah, and it'll be good for his economy too. The extra spade will be quite nice.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how Logus plays this. I'm curious to see when he chooses to advance digs. Yeah, I wonder if he can get away with advancing it later. If he can use priest for, well, let's say use priest for shipping, but I don't know how useful that would be for him here actually. I don't know. Yeah, it does look tough to find a really good path for halflings here. I guess we kind of talked about this at the beginning of the game, but it's not like a clear-cut way how to play them here. Do you think maybe he does a second temple? Perhaps for Earth one? It seems like a logical path to take here.
Yeah.
The extra priest would be useful for digging and shipping and for cults. I think if I were halflings, I'd do second temple. I don't know if it's the best move here, but to me, it's like the most obvious thing to do, at least in this situation.
Yeah, I think that makes a good bit of sense. Shipping here, I mean, shipping's generally really nice with Brown to be able to sort of expand into the southwest and stuff. Like if he could dig F4 and ship down into F2, I2, those types of hexes. But I mean, I think Darklings are just going to beat him down there. So I think shipping really helps him expand in sort of 2 places. There's a theoretical town sort of nestled right next to Swarmlings on the very eastern edge of the board. I don't think halflings are going to get away with that. In order for halflings to build a town there, or a cheap town, they really need that D8 hex, which is right next to one of Nerdcube's dwellings, and I think Nerdcube probably takes that. But there still is a yellow and a brown and a black in the northeastern part of the board. I think that's definitely expansion room up there, and he probably does carve out a late town there. And then of course the southern part of the board on sort of the I row, which can be a little tricky to get neighbors later, but there's again some expansion down there and some cheap hexes. Yeah, but
You get one neighbor. Sorry, you get one neighbor with swarmlings at least. That's not too many though, I guess. Oh, maybe dwarves would join you as well there. If they put their landscape in the center, they can tunnel that southern gray. So
and they will.
As well.
Yeah, and you're right. This does look like another temple coming from Logus, probably for Earth 1, which makes a good bit of sense.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess the overall game plan for him here probably is to do 3 towns. And I score some points with network, being swarmlings on network, some cult points, kind of a little bit of everything, I'm guessing. But yeah, I think that maybe you can hit 2 towns in round 5, 1 in round 6, something like that.
Yep.
And maybe Sanctuary round 4. I don't know. You can kind of manufacture some points some ways throughout the track. I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious to see what he does, though. Definitely curious to see how he chooses to play this. Oh, we do see defense do a Sanctuary, actually, for Fire 1.
We do it,
so
yeah.
Double Econ Darklings.
Double Econ Darklings, indeed. Yeah. Looks like a lot of fun.
I kind of agree with you. I kind of like the second temple more, to be honest. But this is still fine. So he's certainly it's certainly not an issue for him. Although the only thing is he's not gonna pass under a coin pass tile. I don't know if he would have with the second temple anyways, but he would have loved to be there on coin cult stuff for the 6 coin tile, I would think. I guess he took Fire 1, so his coin income's still fine. And I guess there's a priest sitting there as well for him. But yeah, I'll have to see how the Sanctuary goes here for Defense. No, he certainly use all of his coins doing that, for sure. So that'll hurt.
He did.
It will hurt his will hurt his next rounds probably, at least for that.
Yeah, the thing I don't love about the Sanctuary, I mean, it is obviously much better economically, because building a second temple, that's no small thing to just permanently remove an entire worker production from the board. I mean, that's basically like giving up your Earth 2, except for the small boosted power that Earth 2 gives you. But building a second temple, yeah, it gives you an extra favor and another priest production, but you're 1 less worker per round, and so it hits the track 8 points better here or something like that. But it is pretty challenging economically. But the main thing I don't love about the Sanctuary here is that not only did it use all of his coins, but it used all of his power. I would have to go back and double check, but I think there might have been a line where if Deep Finesse built another temple, he wouldn't have had to convert so much power to coins, and he would have had a better shot of a 7 coin action. But he's back at sort of square one in terms of trying to get enough leech for a 7 coin action. He didn't get one in round 1. He hasn't gotten one here. He's out of power. He's probably not getting a coins action until round 4 or something like that, and so that's a little sad.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I look back, you're right. He did use he converted 3 power to coins to build the Sanctuary. So with the second temple, he would have only needed to convert 1 power.
Right.
So he still wouldn't have been able to pass directly into coins action, but with either Little Leech or with the temp ship pass, he would have gotten it.
Yeah.
But actually, Nerdcube passed really early here.
Right.
Nerdcube didn't build a temple, which he was on the trading post pass tile, so that makes some sense. But he's got tons of resources in the bank, and I would think he's gonna take a double dig next round, but maybe he takes a coin action. I'm not totally sure.
Well,
to see what his game plan is. He's definitely gonna be building a temple next round, that's for sure.
Explain this to me though. He used his stronghold ability this round and to upgrade to a trading post before taking a temple. He could have built a temple for Water 1 and then did that. Does this indicate? Now I know he was on the trading post pass tile, so it's only 1 point worse or whatever. But does this somewhat indicate to you that he's planning on taking Earth 1?
Maybe. It makes sense, right? I mean, having the trading post up is definitely good for his economy, for his income. Yeah, I kind of think so. I don't really know, to be honest, but I see the logic in it for sure.
Maybe I'm reading into that too much. It's just, I mean, him being on the trading post pass style does help. It makes it only a point worse in a sense, but it's just, Swarmlings often want to get water 1 before they start using their stronghold ability too many times. And so he's now used it, twice without. I mean, you obviously have to use it once in round 1 before you can get a temple up, but oftentimes that's when you see the next temple is like either at the end of round 1 or at the beginning of round 2 before they use that stronghold ability. So anyhow, maybe I might be reading into it a little bit too much, but
No, I think you could be right. It's also just interesting. Like, well, he did pass into priest bonus tiles. He does have a priest coming in. But it's rare for especially for swarmlings because usually those early priests are so good. The cult rewards are kind of an efficient way for swarmlings to build their economy a lot of the time. And especially these early cult spades here, they look kind of juicy. Although I don't know if he could have gotten on the air cult spade anyways, and maybe he can still find a way to get a cult spade in earth regardless of if he gets the 3 spot or not. But it's unusual. That's why it makes me think maybe he's playing more of an expansive game because I would have thought if he's playing a taller game, he'd want priest to secure cult position too. Because that's obviously important end game points.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's got my attention now. I'm very curious to see what Nerdcube does with this. And we do see Logos go with the second temple as well as a bridge. So maybe he's gonna use his cult spade there on looks like C5.
Yeah.
Looks like he's kind of preparing for that.
Yeah.
And also Bisago also managed to, I think, take a priest power action and send 2 priests to air. So he is getting that air cult spade that we talked about earlier.
That's right.
And he also went for a second temple, which we didn't talk about, and for Earth 1.
And then he just took a single spade onto C3 and offered Deep Finesse a 5-for-4 leech. Of course, Deep Finesse couldn't accept all the power because he already has 4 power income. So a moment ago, we just saw Deep Finesse effectively accept a 4-for-4. Yeah.
Right. Not the most efficient.
But it does allow him to take a 7 coin action. And so it's going to be interesting to see what Nerdcube does with his power. If he wants more spades or if he's just taking another coin action, because I mean it is Nerdcube after all.
Yeah, you'd think you'd want spades, but yeah, knowing Nerdcube, somehow I think he's gonna take coins.
Yeah.
Kind of gut feeling. And just the denial move, as we said, like if he,
Yeah.
again defense getting coins next round looks pretty nice for him still. Like I still think he's in a good spot, all in all here. He also sent a priest to Earth, who got some cult presence there. It won't pay off for a while. But yeah, I don't know. Like, do you think Darklings are still in the lead here? Would you, if you were to pick any of these factions to play right now, would you pick Darklings?
I'm not sure anymore. I was pretty confident. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not trying to say that what Deep Finesse did this round is bad by any stretch. I mean, it makes a good bit of sense, but it definitely is different than how I would have played it. So I'm not sure this sort of sanctuary as opposed to double temple and going for another econ favor as opposed to securing scoring. I mean, it's already a bit of an awkward track for Darklings to try to score in. So yeah, I'm not really sure, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I can't tell either. It's a big mess right now to me. I mean, if Bisago can get the space he needs, if he doesn't get blocked at all, I think he could be in a decent spot. I think he's likely to, like, if he gets all the space he wants, he's probably likely to win network, maybe Deep Finesse. He's pretty good cult presence so far, looking at the water and air cults, and he's getting good cult rewards from them. And he's kind of, if he's able to get, he's got two open gray hexes right now. He's got, after that, he'll have 3 tunnelable gray hexes if he gets all the territory he wants, basically. So if he gets all that, I think he'd be in quite a decent spot too.
Yep.
I don't know. This is a point of the game for me where it's hard to really tell, I'd say, who's doing really well. And now we'll see what Nerdcube does. It's an interesting decision here, as we talked about earlier. Well, the other thing is if he wants Earth 1, he doesn't have to rush for it because Deep Finesse doesn't have a trading post up. And he does take double dig. Okay.
Okay.
So he does. It's not really unpredictable, I guess, but somehow I still thought he'd take coins. But like double dig is certainly very solid, and he doesn't build, so that suggests he's gonna go Earth 1. So I think you're right in that call.
Mm-hmm. So I like Deep Finesse's position quite a bit more now after this coin action. It'll be interesting to see how he plays this round. like whether he builds another temple now for Water 1 or Earth 1 if it's still available, or whether he just uses temp ship to build out a bunch of dwellings and build a couple of trading posts. I mean, that would probably be the best move economically speaking, is just to like get some trading posts and some dwellings down this round. Yeah, so I'll be interested to see how he plays that.
I would think he's gonna do another temple. I think having two econ favors, you really want to be able to score in other ways, and building a trading post here for scoring and getting another temple up for priest production, which is also scoring for darklings, as well as a victory point favor. I think there's a lot of like really good reasons to build a second, or I guess a first temple here.
It
And he can do that and still expand. He does have the resources, at least for a temple and a dwelling. And actually, we see him dig a
Oh
great
my
hex from Bisagawa. Oof.
goodness. Ugh.
Well, yeah, that actually makes sense because he has a sanctuary in the north now, so he needs another hex for that town. But that's painful for sure for dwarves.
It is.
And he has no hesitation too. Deepness, he's a very fast player, and he did not take long there, I don't think, to dig that hex. So he had that in his mind. He knew he was doing that.
Yeah. I mean, that hex is not an uncommon hex for Darklings to want to take at some point this game. It allows them to connect off of one chip, and so there's a lot of value in Darklings being able to, you know, even at the cost of extra priests, like an expensive dig is definitely worth it to save you some coins, because obviously Darklings are just a much better faction if they can use their coins and priests for digs and dwellings, as opposed to using, putting a lot of those resources into shipping. And so C2 is a common connection hex from these exact two starting locations. So, yeah.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. The more I look at it, like I didn't think about it when he built the sanctuary in the second round, but I guess once he did that, that was a tell that he was always gonna take one of the great hexes at least.
Of course, yeah.
And then and that one makes way more sense for connection.
Yeah.
And I'll be curious to see how Bisagawa plays this now. We see some stuff in the chat happening. They're kind of having fun. They're not too serious about this.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he's gonna have to think of something to pivot around this. I mean, the obvious move is to tunnel and build a dwelling, I guess. Other than that, I mean, he could send two priests to water again, another cold spade maybe, and really focus on more cold presence. I think that would make sense. But yeah, I guess again, this is another kind of example maybe of why other people avoided dwarves in the auction, of the the dangers of playing versus darklings and halflings and swarmlings here, and that's a good example of that, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we see Bisagawa taking a good amount of time deciding what he was doing with his next move there. He does decide just to send a priest off to the last remaining 3 spot on the cult.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised he prioritized that more than the water cold spade.
Yeah.
I would think, especially with Deep Finesse digging that hex there, he really wants an extra hex to make up for that. So yeah, personally, I don't love that decision, but I understand definitely the need to kind of make up points essentially on the cults here, because he's gonna have trouble doing what he wants in the board, I guess, or on the board.
And we do see an Earth 1 from Nerdcube.
Yep, you called it, but yeah, it makes enough sense. I mean, especially with the landscape, Swarmlings will do 3 towns. They'll be building a lot of dwellings for that. Don't think we're going to see a standard 7 structured swarms game this game, but we definitely won't. So he will be scoring points off Earth 1, and denying it to Defense is really important too. I think Defense would have taken it if he had the opportunity.
Yeah, and Logus has been just a bit slower to expand here. I mean, he's even built another trading post this round, which I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't looked at his game too closely, but not sure how much I love that. But in Logus's position here, what I really would have wanted to do is to try to take that yellow D7 hex, which is a really sort of key hex that cuts through that piece of land and into all those other cheaper hexes on the eastern board, and just to try to challenge Nerdcube. And if you ever got away with taking D8, I mean, that would be really great. Again, you probably don't, but still, you want to try to get up there. And
that's a really nice hex, isn't that, for halflings? And you also have one shipping to get to, what is that, D8 up north as well. Expansion is great there. I mean, I think the trading post is fine because he has Earth 2, so he has a way to like supplement his worker economy. So I guess it's a bit of a scoring a way to score. I think he's still in an okay spot. Like yeah, it's hard to see what his long-term plan is here. I don't think he's advancing. Do you think he advances Dig next round? Like I don't think he would, but I'm not totally. Again, I find it hard to come up with a good plan here for Halfling, so I don't really know what he's up to. And he's also on the trading post pass tile. Actually, I just noticed that now.
Oh.
So he will be scoring even more of his trading posts.
Um.
So it's a bit of a like a greedy strategy, I guess you could say. Like he's been playing the track like fairly tightly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, getting obviously extra points with Halfling's ability with their digs. He still has a pretty good cult position. We see all the pre-spots on air are gone now, so it's gonna be tough for other factions to move up air easily. So him being in the sixth spot there is obviously great for the worker economy later, but also gives himself good late game position for cult points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, there's been some discussion in chat about whether Deep Finesse is going to pass early to secure C2. Personally, I think that would be a mistake. He's on temp ship. I think he wants to use temp ship. I think he, at the very minimum, needs to get down to H3 this turn. And I think he's either building a temple this round or building another trading post. I think he needs to do one of those two lines. And I think it probably is a temple. So, yeah, I think Deep Finesse, he does have exactly enough resources to build a temple and a dwelling, and I think that's probably what he does here.
Yeah, I agree too. Like I think passing early would be a mistake. And knowing Deep Finesse, I don't think he'll pass early. He likes to build out his economy. So I think he can always triple dig that the other grade there to form the town. So he has enough options that I don't see a great. I don't think it's that important for him to pass early. Building his economy up makes a lot more sense. I mean,
Yeah.
especially the Darklings too. Building your temples, as you said, it's like a scoring play as well. Getting an extra spade out of it with the priest. So I think it's way better than passing early. I think that's no question in my mind.
For sure, and I often think like that's one of the best ways to convert the extra economy you get from going double econ darklings into scoring is using those extra resources to increase your priest production larger and earlier than you otherwise would be able to if you just went like Earth 1 or something. But most games aren't able to sustain, Sanctuary in a temple in round 3. Like, that's pretty tall for Darklings. But Earth 2 Fire 1 Darklings can definitely handle that. So,
yeah, that's so nice. It's gonna end round 3, presumably with a sanctuary and temple and 4 dwellings. Like that's nice.
Oh yeah.
And starting with 30 points, like that's juicy. that looks amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And we see Nerdcube forming a town here, so presumably the Tukey town, I would think. Although he's hesitating a bit, so he might have something in mind. No, he does go for it.
Yep.
It was a bit. Well, I was gonna say it's a bit weird here because he's gonna be overproducing power for next round, but not by too much, just by a couple power.
Yeah.
Usually, like a bit of an underrated thing about the Tukey town is like all the power you get from moving up the cults can be really really nice for your economy, whether it's in that round or the round after. So it's not quite as good for him here as it would be, but it's still like I think the benefits of the Tukey town are still pretty strong for him, and it makes a lot of sense to go for it.
Yeah. It does mean we do see dwarves pass as expected before darklings. It does mean BC Goa can make a play to take C2 back next round, which probably does.
I think he would, yeah. You can kind of see his like that dig was rough for him.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like too much on the surface, but I think next round he would have liked to have. I mean, I don't know if he would have wanted to build a sanctuary or expand his economy out more, but he can't really do that now, having to dig that hex again. Or he can, but it's just gonna be a lot more delayed from what it would be. And I'll be curious to see at the end how close the network race is. Like, it'll be interesting to see if Deep Finesse beats BC Goa on network, and if he does, we can really look back to the decision to dig C2 here, because even though Deep Finesse might not get the hex, even just delaying BC Goa from building a lot could kind of get him points in the end with network.
Absolutely.
So I don't know how far ahead he's looking for that. Like, it's possible he was. I'm not so sure if Deep Finesse was, but that'll be kind of like a fascinating little subplot, I guess, to look at the end.
Yeah, and I mean, Deep Finesse, of course, knew that there was always a chance, and perhaps he was even expecting that there was a high chance that he wouldn't actually get C2 as his own hex. But the other thing this does, of course, is it slows down dwarves getting to F3. And Deep Finesse
Yeah.
would rather have C2, but he needs F3, especially with the Sanctuary on B4, right? And you often do as Darklings starting on E3. You try to triple dig F3 late. And I mean, so sure, dwarves will get the C2 hex back, but by that point, Deep Finesse will probably be able to take that hex. However, in the spirit of casters being completely wrong, we see Deep Finesse neither build a temple or a trading post. So we're out of a job again. We're fired.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, that's expected by us now. We're expected to mess up everything. So,
Totally.
So us casters. So yeah, we're expected to get it wrong. If we got everything right, then we wouldn't be doing our job properly. So
that's right.
So we're nailing it right now. I'm really surprised though. Why didn't he build a temple or a trading post? Did he pass? Maybe. Oh yeah, there was a 6-coin pass tile. Maybe he wanted to pass on to that.
Yep.
And so Nerdcube passed after him. Although wait, what was the pass order? Yeah.
Yes.
Would Nerdcube have passed on to the 6 coins over the trading post pass tile? Maybe. I guess it's hard to really say for sure.
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, the trading post pass tile is going to be worth 6 points this turn. I mean, I assume Nerdcube's not building a second temple, so it's 6 points and a worker. Yeah.
I mean, unless Nerdcube feels the need to slow down Deep Finesse, which would be pretty reasonable.
I guess.
So maybe, I guess there's a safer play to pass, but he is passing up on either 3 points for the trading post or the victory point favor and the priest production for the temple. Although I guess if you build a temple, his coining can be worse too. I guess there's always a bit of a fine line.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm definitely surprised. Didn't expect that.
Yeah, I guess there's an argument. Yeah, but like building that temple is just converting 2 coins and a power into a priest. If it is a scoring favor, you're not losing any additional economy off of it. It's not like taking Air 2 or something that you're also losing the power. So he got 6 coins and 2 coins and a power and didn't, lose out on a priest. So yeah, maybe it's fine.
Yeah, we see Logos jump on the coin action, which isn't surprising.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess he didn't have enough power for double dig anyways or anything like that. So that's kind of the obvious option. It looks like he's so many coins now. Maybe he'll do a sanctuary for, I don't know. Would he do a sanctuary? Would he advance dig? Would he advance shipping and maybe hard dig the yellow D7, that important hex you mentioned earlier? I keep saying this, but I don't know what he's gonna do. What the plan is exactly.
Yeah,
he's got a lot of resources now. He's got a good economy now.
I'm not really sure either. I mean, Logos might just also not want to build a sanctuary, right? Like, if you don't have to build a sanctuary, why build a sanctuary? I mean, sure, it gives you a favor tile, but, I mean, he can just dig out 4 hexes. It's not like he's built out a center town that only has 3 hexes or something in the center. It sometimes happens with Brown on D5. Like, where his current structures are, he can just have as many hexes as he needs, and he's halfling, so he'll just dig them out. So I don't know. I think if I'm Logos, I do a combination of shipping and shipping and dig upgrades, and just start. I take D7 and maybe even C7 and B8. Like, you just start building out some dwellings. I mean, he has Earth 1. He can just score point. He can just get points for scoring dwellings this round. I think that's probably his best line. I don't know. I think Logos just needs to have more than 5 structures on the board.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think the sanctuary would be a mistake after hearing you say that. You convinced me.
Yeah. He'd be as tall as Swarmlings if he built a sanctuary right now. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's one thing you can do when playing against Swarmlings. You can play a bit taller and still score network points. Like as a strategy, and he does go sanctuary. Oh. Okay.
Again, I'm just gonna quit casting. I don't know why people ask me to do this. Like,
I mean, you sold me pretty easily. I was kind of convinced that he wasn't gonna do sanctuary. He was gonna try to build his economy more. I think he's playing a small game. I think he's gonna so he takes air 1 with the sanctuary here. Instead of water 1, that's interesting too. I guess he has a trading post already up, so he will score a bit with that.
Well,
but I think he's gonna just hit 2 towns round 5 and maybe fight cults with temples in round 6. And use a dig advance the way to score, like I kind of said earlier. Maybe score with the ship pass tile. Maybe I'm not totally sure still. I mean, with
Then,
the sanctuary, kind of implies that he's going more of a smaller game because that's really not good for his economy at all,
but
as
then
we
why
saw from
take
the
Earth 1, right? Like you committed to Earth 1. So
yeah.
Earth 1 generally means you need to build stuff. More than 5 buildings. So but maybe he'll just like expand in the last 2 rounds. Like he is going to carve out some towns. He's getting a bunch of workers off the air cults. Like, sure, he's tall now, but he'll have a way to expand later, and maybe that's really his plan, is just sort of getting dwellings out earlier, or sorry, in the later part of the game. I mean, this has also been quite nice for dwarves, because the thing about it is, like, it's round 4 and E5 has just been sitting open. Logus has had lots of
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to advance ship once, and he can touch E5. Like, and dwarves have been that's pretty late to E5. I feel like on this map for dwarves. I mean, I realize he doesn't have any color neighbors, but still, Logus hasn't been putting as much pressure, I guess, on dwarves as I thought he might.
No, he hasn't been putting any pressure. But I guess DPS has been putting a lot of pressure on dwarves to make up for it. So there's not really any need.
That's fair enough.
And we did see DPS take C2 from dwarves. So dwarves did a sanctuary, or Visigoth did a sanctuary for water one in his first action, and DPS took that hex. So I guess maybe I mean Visigoth doesn't really need that hex if he has a sanctuary in the center there as a
Nope.
town. Assuming if you can get away with tunneling, especially on the west side of the map there, whatever those hex indexes are, if he can tunnel those hexes, he really has no need to get into that hex. He's connected now with his landscape, um, and he has a lot of hexes on the east to tunnel to, presuming that Swarmlings and Halflings don't upgrade dig and dig take them away from him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of found a way to create some room here with that double dig, which I like. I think it was a necessary double dig.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, yeah, dwarves can tunnel to what, 5 hexes right now, and then just they have a 6th hex to build on. That's not something you say often on lakes for dwarves, but
Yeah, I guess it's. I mean, I guess you don't see dwarves. Well, because the engineers are picked so often, you just don't see dwarves
well,
too
that's
commonly on lakes in general.
that's true.
The only thing is his economy is not great. He's got 3
Yeah.
dwellings down right now. He has Earth 2. He can use his priest as a worker to get another dwelling down if he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Although he does have a couple workers coming in from the cult at least, so he's got something. And he'll have 2 spades next round. He's got enough for a decent game. Will it be enough to win? I guess I don't know. I can't tell right now. But he's got play at least. He's not dead, that's for sure. So what else happened? So DPS took a priest power action. He looks to be. Well, we had those dwellings down last round. I'm guessing DPS is going to build another temple this round, although we keep saying that and it's not happening. So really, who knows? Um, I'm guessing he's also going to be planning out, or he probably already has planned out his town spots here. He's probably got 3 towns. I would think one in the north and the center there in the north with a sanctuary. One where he obviously has already space carved out, and then one maybe without a neighbor in the southwest with one expensive trading post.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dwarves will be his neighbor if he bridges from F2 there. So yeah, it looks like he's got some pretty easy town spaces carved out already.
Yep. And so he has a priest with 3 priest production coming in, so he can dig 4 hexes between now and the end of the next round, not including any additional priests he picks up along the way, either on past tiles or from his first town, perhaps. So yeah, he can easily carve out this northern sanctuary town. And so, are we apt to just see 4 trading posts next turn from Deep Finesse in order to town up?
I think so. I mean, can you get 2 towns next round? Maybe with a temple and fire too. Perhaps. Well, here's one trading post right there. So
No,
he's turned it.
yeah, I think he just builds another trading post on D5, D4. He builds dwellings in A6 and A7, and he just turns those into trading posts. And
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I think he has the workers to do it. Like he has 6 worker income. He's sitting on 4 workers. He needs 8 to do that. He can still build out some dwellings, so his economy isn't too like coin heavy. Build a temple and maybe even another town in the last round, or yeah.
Yeah, I think that yeah, I think you're right. You should be able to hit that without too much of a problem. His economy is quite good. Something really interesting we saw is Logus passing super early this round for the ship pass tile. Look at all the resources he got in his bank. I think it's a pretty clear indication he's playing small, which I love. I'm officially on Team Logos for this game. I can't. I want to see him win with a small halflings game. That'd be amazing. But yeah, it's pretty clear next round he's going to be trying to hit 2 towns, fully advancing shipping to score with that. Maybe advancing digging to get those towns. Yeah, he probably will be. He's getting a lot of workers from the cult. So I think he's going to have a huge round 5 here. And then finish off by building a couple temples in round 6 to try to get some, try to fight swarmlings and dwarves on cults a little more. I don't know. I love the idea. I can't tell exactly how well it's going to work, but I love the game plan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. If that's what he's going for. I mean, as you said, we're casters. We're probably wrong. He's probably going to do some crazy expansive move next round. Although I really don't think so, though. I think he kind of has to go tall here.
It's just very unlakes for brown factions to play. Like, the world's your oyster.
Really, yeah, that's true. I mean, Lakes is so good for easy expansion for brown. Um, so it is very unusual to kind of see this kind of verticality. But if he gets 6 network points from beating Swarmlings on network anyways, then it's maybe worth it. I mean, Darkling's economy was always amazing once he took 2 econ favors. He probably wasn't going to beat him in network.
Right.
Dwarves with no color neighbor are bound to have a pretty good network unless they get crazily blocked. So I think maybe it's kind of smart to play small if you're going to score network anyways. There's not any real incentive to build a lot of dwellings this game. There weren't any dwelling rounds in the track, which is pretty rare. But there's no dwelling pass tile either.
Yeah.
So if you can get a good enough worker economy through other means, I think it's okay. And I think you might be able to manage. Let's see. As I said, I don't know how well he can score. I don't know if he can beat DFNS or NerdCube, or BSCO for that matter. I really just don't know. But it's certainly cool, that's for sure.
Is this just coins? I mean, our boy Logos is packing 5 priests, right? So he takes a coin action and he just upgrades all his technology.
I think so.
Which is pretty hilarious.
Right? That makes a lot of sense. He's got the resources to do everything, I think.
He can have 26 coins this turn, and then he uses, 14 to upgrade all his technology, and then he has, I don't know, math coins left, and then he carves out towns for more stuff. Yeah. Look at that analysis.
That's A-level analysis.
I gave up halfway through when I was trying to subtract 24, 12, and it was too much.
I mean, I guess maybe
this can't be a dig action. He's like, what else? What is this?
He did double dig. Oh, what the heck?
What are you using your priests for? Oh, he just really wanted A7. Is that your read here? He really didn't want to take double dig. He really wanted to take coins, but he had to do this because he wanted to stop Deep Finesse from taking A7.
Is A7 that important for him? I guess he needs a neighbor for a trading post for that town too. Otherwise, he's spending 1 extra dig. He's double digging regardless for that town wherever he goes, unless he doesn't Temple for Fire too. Maybe
makes it a bit more awkward. Yeah, it is a good bit awkward. And this makes it maybe slightly more awkward for Deep Finesse, although he probably doesn't care, because Deep Finesse now either has to build an expensive trading post or just his town is now 2 dwellings on A4 and A5 as opposed to a trading post. I don't know that matters much to Deep Finesse, but it does change obviously how those towns are going to be put together.
That's true. I mean, I think Deep Finesse's economy is good enough that he doesn't really care about. Like, I think he'll have enough dwellings to do his 3rd town in the last round. Like, the only reason I think that could be an issue is if it used up the dwelling he needs for his 3rd town. But I think he's fine. So I don't think he really cares. Although, I mean, if Logos let Deep Finesse do that, he would have also gotten a lot more leech from that too. So there's kind of a trade-off there. And I guess the other thing is, Bisagoa didn't take coins either. He towned up and took a cult town, so the coins fall to NerdCube, who I think is gonna take them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at this point in the game, NerdCube isn't taking any more spades. Like, he's upgrading digs and just digging out any additional hexes he needs. Which, I mean, we'll see another town from NerdCube this turn. I mean, it's not that far away. Even without fire, too, I assume he's going to basically upgrade his digs, probably dig I8 for a landscape, and then what would he be at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He upgrades to a trading post 13. So he'll probably like dig out 2 hexes, one for one for a landscape, one for a dwelling, and then upgrades a trading post. I think that's a town, and then next round temples for fire too, something like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And for a third town, and maybe because he has Earth 1, he's going to be playing more expansive, and especially with Logos' network being so tiny. So all the talk I said about Logos getting network points, I don't know if he's beating Nerdcube on network. Nerdcube probably is going to build a lot more dwellings out.
Totally.
Although he could want to do temples last round instead, multiple temples, but it'd make a lot of sense for him to go for a third town, and maybe if he's absolutely insane, maybe he can connect his stronghold to this massive metropolis he's got on the right side of the map. That might be challenging. I don't know if that's feasible, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him build a lot more dwellings with Earth 1.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the point conversion isn't great. Obviously, if you just have Earth 1, it basically just means you can build dwellings that are more or less a wash to you, because you have to. It takes 5, 6 of a resource point, to build a dwelling, and then anyhow, yeah, you get it's two resource points to build a dwelling.
Yeah,
and you get 2 points back from
really,
one.
it's really only worth it if you're getting a third town, but also competing on network with it.
That's
if you're
right.
getting network points with it, then the math changes. But if you're not, if you're just building them, then it's not really like building dwellings for the sake of building dwellings with swarmlings is not an efficient way to score. That's for sure.
No. But when you're playing 3 town swarmlings, which I think this is what this probably is, it just involves upgrading digs and building a lot of structures, and so, whether or not you score off of them or not, like whether or not it's good point conversion or not, we're going to do it anyhow in order just to get those towns, then scoring 2 points off of them is just as good as it is for anyone else, and I think that's what we're going to see here from Nerdcube is. Probably at this point, I expect a mega town all the way up to like A10. And you see this funny shape that I've seen a number of times on this map where it goes I8 to E7, and then it goes back. I think he'll take C8, B9, A10 by the end of the game and have this entire eastern part of the board dug up.
Yeah, that'd be beautiful. The nice, the flying V, almost like, or the sideways V.
Yeah.
It'd be great if only he didn't have. If he didn't have dwelling on, what is that, F7, then it'd be a lot more pretty.
Yes.
A lot more symmetrical, right? If you can just take that dwelling off the map.
Yeah.
Give it to Logos instead or something, then that'd be perfect.
What do you call these? Here, I'm putting it in chat. These things. It's the curly bracket. In programming, you just say curly bracket. I forget what the actual term is.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
But that's what it looks like this one. That's what his town is going to look like. I'm putting in chat is exactly that shape. Yes, but if you remove F7, and I've totally seen that this game is I8 to E7 and then back out to like A10, whatever makes it symmetrical, and it's quite beautiful. Anyhow, enough talking about town shapes. What's happened in the game?
Yeah, our priorities are clearly straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, we see the DPS takes 2 towns and both priest towns, which are always good for Darklings.
Yep.
I don't even really think he needs the priest, but it's, if nothing else, it's 11 points. Especially with going double econ, this is where he wants to convert them into points now. This is a big round for him, so it makes a lot of sense. And obviously, not surprisingly, his score is skyrocketed. And you see, this is the round where it looks really awkward for Beasts to go. Can he get a second town? I guess if he bridges. If he bridges across, yeah, he can get a second town, I guess, but it's awkward. Like, it's a lot more comfortable for Swarmlings or Darklings here to be forming towns than it is for Dwarves. Well, I guess it's not that big of a deal, actually.
Are you talking about a bridge to F3 and then a dwelling? Like.
Yeah, I was thinking of the southern town there, like a bridge to F3, a dwelling there. Even so, you'd still be a power short. Or you'd have to either do an expensive trading post, take fire 2, hard dig somewhere. So it's a bit awkward, but we do see him bridge there, so he's clearly got plans to do that.
Right.
You see Nerd keep advancing dig, so yeah, he's kind of doing what we had talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be digging out that V or digging out something. Maybe he focuses his efforts more in the south in some kind of hopes to connect, rather than the north. Not totally sure.
I don't know how worth it is for him to try to connect that last structure. I mean, it does involve. It's going to involve a bunch of shipping and building a bunch of structures that aren't adjacent to each other to make a town.
Yeah, that's true. It probably the extra structure and network may not be worth it. Although I'm looking at the game and like dwarves don't have a good network going, and they don't have a great economy. They'll get some tunnels in the last round for sure, but it's not going to be an amazing network. Only DPS is going to have a really good network. It seems like this game.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of open. Like the network race is fairly open. But yeah, I think you're right. That is a lot for him. He's gonna need 2 shipping advances, build 2 dwellings, hope that Deep Finesse or Logos don't block him, which is probably pretty unlikely. Like probably pretty likely that one of them would block him. Um, so maybe it's not really worth investing too much into. But I don't think it's totally crazy to think that NerdQ could get second in network at least. That seems feasible to me.
Yeah, it's amazing that like uh, dwarves' network is only better than halflings by their landscape.
Yeah, right. Wow.
And
Really small
Logos
network.
has more stuff. So in this round. So like yeah.
And like how with having Earth One, like as much as I talked about Logos playing a small game, like he has incentive. If he has easy points in network, he has definitely has incentive to go for them. He'll score with Earth One. He'll score with has halflings. He'll score with digging hexes. He'll score with network points. So it's possible that dwarves don't get any network points here, which would be really painful having no color neighbors. It's not something you'd expect. Well, I guess you said on this map, it's not that surprising with all the digging factions, but even so, like you look at the factions in the auction, you think dwarves and no color neighbor, like they have so many hexes, they'll be fine. But then you see the game progress, and it doesn't it doesn't really work like that.
Yeah, it's just tricky for them. Um, yeah, the more I look at it, I just don't really see how Bisigoa gets this town. He needs 9 coins worth of trading posts to make it work, or uh, 8 coins if he temples. So I doubt that's worth it.
I mean, if he really wants to, he can convert 2 priests into coins and make it happen. But
Or send the priests
well,
to cults. Like
yeah,
just 2 priests to fire is getting 2 coins, and then uses his other priest. So that's 5, 6. That's 8 coins. So he's like he needs a 2-for-1 leech, both priests to fire and then a priest to worker, and he can make it work. That's
yeah, like it's an interesting question. Is it worth it? Like for the 5 points in the town round, is doing all those conversions, I guess, worth it? I mean, if he's gonna be sending a priest to cult anyways, then maybe it's worth it. But he also might want those priests as workers because his economy isn't the greatest, and he has 3 easy tunnelable hexes at least.
yes.
That he would want to build on the last round, and he does need a lot of workers for that.
And
So this is a tough real time decision to make. Like I think if this is a turn-based game, you had time to think about it, you might be able to make the right decision. But in real time, it's difficult to analyze all this.
yeah, I think if I'm PC Goa, I'm giving up on the town this round, and I think there's another important consideration is that like he has 2 cult spades coming in at the end of this round, and he has nowhere. Well, I mean, so what's the rule? You can cult spade with one. You can cult spade 1 hex via tunnel because your landscape's down, but not the other one. I guess. But in
Right,
any
actually, I
but in any
totally forgot
case,
about that rule.
he did what I thought he would do, which is spend his resources on
Yeah.
a tunnel to B7. And I think this makes a lot of sense. Like he could have squeaked out this extra town, but I mean, you know sort of mangling your economy in such a precise way just to squeak out 5 more points on the track this round really worth it? I like this line a lot better. Like just maybe build out well, I guess he doesn't even have another trading post to build out, but yeah, he could have done it, but it just seems like he would have been trying to like hurt himself by trying to make it work. And I like this line a lot better of just like getting some expansion, having some nice hexes to place those cult spades, and just trying to make the best out of round 6.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good decision. And just get his worker economy going a bit more as well too.
Yeah.
He will use his workers in the last round. They'll be helpful. Is there no? I was gonna say, is there any way he has the means to get a third town? But if he wants to tunnel, there's no way because he has the 2 cold spades, obviously, so it feels like natural to go for it. But I don't think it makes a ton of sense. Um, but yeah, no, I like the decision to tunnel away. And looking at who haven't we talked about in a while? I guess we haven't talked about halflings in a while. So Logus took a worker town with his first town, and he has fully upgraded digging now.
Yep.
So he dug the blue hex, whatever that is.
C6.
C6. Yep. So he'll presumably maybe just do another dwelling for that town. He doesn't have water 1, so he doesn't have a great reason to do another trading post. And then try to get a 3 ship advances, I'm guessing, to score fully with that. So he'll be at over 100 by the end of this round.
Wow. Yeah. Fair enough. Is this Nerd Cube out of moves? Yes, unless he buys a priest.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about the pass tiles too much and the points pass tiles, but Logos on the ship pass and Deep Nest on the trading post pass tile. Both tiles which Nerd Cube obviously wants. But I don't. Well, he could outweigh Deep Finesse, but he's probably not getting his tile anyways. BCGO probably just passed on it. He does take a priest, so he's going for it. Looks like
we've lost track of Nerd Cube's game. So Nerd Cube is out of resources, and I was trying to figure out what all happened. So he did things in a slightly different order. He upgraded digs twice. He then took D8. He then built a dwelling. He then upgraded a trading post. He now, to town up, just builds I8 as a landscape, and that towns him up. He just sort of did it. I was expecting the landscape first, but he was trying to, I think, just make sure Logos wasn't going to come over and take D8 on him. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So
okay, he's got actions left.
And he was just trying to stall, I think. Like, he could have done a 3, if he wanted to get out of the round quicker, he just would have gone 3 power to a worker and done the dig, but in this case, he takes an extra priest out of the game and just does this whole sequence 1 turn slower. Which increases his ability of getting, of course, he wants Darkling's pass tile. And he probably gets it, because he just has to dig next turn. He's going to dig I8 as a landscape, get his 3 workers as his, bonus for building his town. Deep Finesse can take 1 more action if he really wants to by digging something, and then Swarmlings will have 3 workers plus whatever town he takes to delay. So Nerd Cube's going into the last round with the trading post bonus. No, okay. I've got that completely. I've got that completely wrong. Backwards. Nerd Cube is in the opposite order. Everything I said is false. Don't listen to me.
Yeah, I didn't realize he hadn't even formed a town yet. So many things to pay attention to. But that makes a lot of sense. He actually might end up on the ship pass tile as well. I'm not totally sure what the order of everything's gonna happen, but Logos took a coin town, so he'll do 2 ship advances and probably build a dwelling. I don't think he can't afford the 3rd ship advance. So depending on how many digs their cube wants to take, he could wait for that if he doesn't get the trading post pass tile.
Well,
basically just pass now anyways. So yeah, he'll get one or the other, guaranteed.
Yeah, maybe he does get the trading post tile, because Logos still has stuff that he wants to do, and Deep Finesse might just pass, and Logos might not be ready to pass on the trading post tile.
Yeah, and I actually do think Nerd Cube would much prefer the trading post pass tile over the ship pass tile. I'm not sure if he really wants to advance ship. It doesn't. No. He's got other things to do in the last round, like build temples, fight cults more maybe. Yeah. So, with his priest. And so that's true. Like, that's actually maybe more. I just kind of look at them interchangeably. Like, he'll take either or. But no, I think he does want the trading post pass tile a lot more.
Yeah, I think so. And isn't Nerd Cube just going for another town if he can? I mean, the math is completely wrong, but can he temple for fire 2 and then dig?
Yeah, I think
a few
definitely,
more.
Right.
I don't know Swarmling's math well enough, but if he temples for fire 2, then he needs. I guess he still needs 3 dwellings and then a trading post upgrade, which is free. So he does need to dig 3 hexes and build 3 dwellings or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he can afford it. That would be just a quick match.
It's a lot of workers.
That's 13 workers for the temple and the 3 dwellings, at least in this bottom limited dig. That's a lot of workers. He's getting 3 from the town. He'll get 1 for the trading post pass tile. Well, he has priests. He can use his workers if he needs to. I think he'll find a way to do it.
He might, yeah.
I think you're right. I think that's the most worth it, especially with Earth 1. You think he wants to do it down. And the network fight, as we said earlier, it might. I still can't tell I think it's pretty clear that defense is winning network, but I can't quite tell how the second place network fight's gonna go.
Well, if Nerd Cube carves out another town, if I've got this right, I think that makes he would need 3 more structures that puts him at network 11, assuming he doesn't connect to stronghold. So does Network 11 beat... Network 11 doesn't beat Dwarves. I mean, Dwarves is at Network 10.
No.
So... No. So he's
think
not getting
Halfling-
network points here. Nerdcube's
No,
not.
I think Halflings will end up building a few more dwellings here.
Yeah.
It's actually a bit of an interesting race for the Northeast for Halflings, between Halflings and Swarmlings, because that is Nerdcube to dig. For his third town, or is whatever you want to call it for his metropolis, to dig through the yellow and the black up north. But Logus might have tempo on that. He'll have tempo to block it for sure. So he will be advancing shipping twice here, I think, pretty clearly, and building on B8 probably. So I'll be curious to see how those dynamics play out. I don't think Logus can get a third town. I don't think he has the resources for it. Although, yeah, knowing as you said before, we're probably wrong on everything. So assume he can do the third town, since I don't think he can.
Oh, well, Nerdcube just does have 2 Cult Spades coming in, which would slow down Logus by...
Oh.
Well, not that much, actually, because the Cult Spades would have to turn this hex yellow to black, so scrap that. It's just as cheap for Logus to interrupt this hex. Yeah, it is a little awkward.
Yeah, I did forget about the Cold Spades, of course. So yeah, Nerdcube will definitely have no issues with the third town. That's 2 extra workers.
Assuming Logus doesn't... well, I guess the thing is that we're expecting, although that Logus will stay in the round long enough to upgrade shipping, and that Nerdcube will pass first, so Nerdcube can secure C8 first action if that's where he puts his Cold Spades.
Yes, that's what right. I'm expecting at least. But I mean, Nerdcube might even have the workers to not dig up north. Like, he might be able to get a third town digging in, like, the... I guess everywhere else is kind of awkward, but he can dig through the yellow in the southeast, to the green there. Oh, wow, he digs that hex brown. Okay, Logus doesn't have shipping yet. 2 shipping yet. That's ballsy.
I mean...
that seems so uncomfortable, just seeing all the brown hexes there for Halflings, but you can't reach them yet.
I guess that's the thing. He can't yet, and Nerdcube is just going to dig this. Like, Logus will be able to this round, but Nerdcube's going to dig it again. To black?
Yeah, he has to dig it again. I mean, right? Yeah, he has to. You can't let Logus just build there. Which... Or I don't think he wants to. I don't think he wants to, at least.
Is one way to stall. The problem with this is it makes his cult digs kind of inefficient. I mean, his cult digs are basically 2 extra workers, and maybe it's not as tight as I think it is, but... yeah, he digs that to black, and then he basically loses a Cult Spade.
Yeah, I guess it's not that big of a deal. I'm surprised he didn't perhaps, like, double or triple... Well, yeah, no, then I guess the Cult digs aren't useful, too. I guess it was always a bit awkward for him.
Well, he is going to have to dig this to blue, though, right? Right now? Because, so, Halflings have 2 shipping, and can't afford a 3rd ship.
Oh, he just passes. Does Nerdcube not care about that hex? Wait, what?
Does Logus not care about... Is Nerdcube like, dare me, I don't care, like, I'll just dig other stuff? I don't know.
I'm shocked. Is Logus have any reason to not take that?
I mean, he just has to do worker to claim.
No, he just took it.
Yeah, of course. Why not?
That looks like a mistake, doesn't it? Like, I can't see any good reason why he would have done that, unless he wants Logus to beat Deepness on Network or something crazy like that,
oh
which
my
I don't think's
gosh.
happening.
Is that...
I can't imagine that. like going full, like, 4D chess and, like, looking way in advance.
Chat?
He did that, like, very deliberately, though, so I feel like he had a reason for doing that. I just don't know what the heck it could possibly be.
Chat, what do you guys
Maybe
make of
not.
this? He just valued the pass higher. Yes, chat's pointing out that Nerdcube just said in chat.
Yeah, maybe he realized his mistake, because if he really, like, I don't know, even for the pass, he didn't have to dig that hex brown. He could have dug another hex, a different color. That's a nice gift for Logus, though. Is there any way Logus can get a 3rd town now with that?
Well,
I don't know.
I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but, like, Nerdcube would, like, I don't know why he didn't just put two workers into it, because if Nerdcube put 2 workers into that yellow hex and sunk it to black, like, Logus wouldn't have had the resources. He had to do worker to coin to build a dwelling. So Logus could mess with it and like dig it to something else or whatever, but like he wouldn't have had the resources to dig and build a dwelling. So I wonder if that just was a straight up mistake.
I feel like it has to be. I just don't see what the reason for turning that brown is and letting Logus build there otherwise. I was surprised. I thought it was obvious that Logus would take that if he did that. I don't know. We'll have to hear after the game what he was thinking. So I think now is maybe a good time to assess the game a bit. So if you're looking at the game right now, like who do you think's in the league? Like in the lead, like I think it's kind of safe to say that Dwarves are in 4th. Looking at the points right now and looking at their position. Yeah. But of the other 3, I mean, Deepness is another town coming. Nerdcube is another town coming. Logus might have another town coming. The last round Temple round is probably best for Swarmlings of all these factions. For pass tiles, only Nerdcube's on a pass tile, so that's all really good for Nerdcube. Of course, Deepness is winning Network, so that's a good chunk of points. So there's a lot of kind of things going on, but do you have a gut feel as to who's in the lead here?
I think probably Nerdcube. Like, he's got decent cults. He might have another town coming in. He's on a pass tile. I mean, the points are fairly close, right? So the points are close between him and Deepness. I guess Deepness has 18 network points that Nerdcube doesn't, and Nerdcube has 12 passing points between his pass tile and Air 1. But then they each possibly have another town coming in. Nerdcube has a bunch of cult points that Deep Finesse doesn't.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm wondering if we were maybe overvaluing Darkling's position earlier, because I don't think Deep Finesse did anything like wrong here or anything, but maybe Swarmlings was in a better spot than we thought earlier on. I guess as you said, it was never the greatest scoring track for Darklings. Well, that being said, he still is definitely in the running. It's a very solid game still, but I remember thinking he was decently ahead at the start at least.
Yeah, and building temples, like once he has his network, I think the thing with Deep Finesse is once he has his network win locked down, and that might even be now. Like, he might not need to build that many more dwellings. Like, maybe he just builds 1 more dwelling because he needs it for his town, and then maybe he just like builds a couple temples. Like, he builds a temple for Air 1. Maybe does he need a temple for Fire 2 to complete a town? Like, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Deep Finesse plays this, because he might just end up building like 2 temples and a trading post or something this round. One of them for Fire 2 and one of them for Air 1, or one of them for Air 1 and one of them for like Water 2 or something, where he feels like it can help him get a couple call points. Yeah.
Right, and looking back to Nerdcube, he did a temple for Water 1 here, so that's a pretty clear sign he's not going for 3rd town. And I guess, I was also looking at the chat too, they're saying he can't really make a 3rd town anymore, which makes a lot of sense, because things are all really expensive now. I guess maybe not getting that Northern Territory was more harmful than I thought it would be.
Right.
But it'll still score fine building temples here as Swarmlings too. You could potentially take Air 3 as well, and kind of leapfrog halflings in air.
Yep.
So it's an alternate path that is probably almost as good, if not just as good.
Or Fire 3? Does he have a better line of like a better avenue for winning Fire here, and it comes with 2 coins?
Yeah, that looks nice too.
And I'll be interested to know, like, if he builds a 2nd temple, can he also afford to build like a manual trading post with like a workers action or something? Is that worth it? Like, he builds a 2nd temple for Fire 3, takes a worker's action, he uses a stronghold ability, and then just pays for a trading post next to halflings. Yeah, that's definitely the case. I mean, he's on the trading post past down, and he just builds another temple. So this has to be two trading posts coming. Oh yeah, he can just priest a worker. He's got all the resources he needs, and it is Fire 3. First thing I got right. That's nice.
Nice. Well, you also got right. Oh, I can't remember what it was earlier. There's something else I pointed out, but we'll find it when we watch it, or when someone else watches it, they'll point it out. So now we're seeing things play out a little more now. Like we're seeing, it's pretty clear now that Nerdcube's not getting network points. So Logos or Bisagoa, one of them's getting second on network here still, which is still a pretty substantial swing. And with Logos, he's at 106 points. He has a nice point lead, although he doesn't have a third town coming, I don't think. So Defense has that on him for sure. But he's still right in the running, that's for sure. Especially if he wins Air Cult. If he just threw a Priest to Water, so he's looking to get some more cheap cult points on Water, which makes sense. I don't think Darkling's going to fight him there. Maybe Dwarves will fight him. But he is going to be able to manufacture some points, at least at the end.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out this network race, but of course, BC is, I guess I missed it. I was babbling on about temples or something. But when Logus planted, I don't know if it was a cult spade or just a single worker, but H7 has been turned red. So BC has had a decent bit of disruption this game. Of course, E6 was taken, which is another gray hex. So I don't know. BC Go's expansion is going to be pretty difficult here. There aren't any other grays he can build on. He can hard dig down another dwelling, but
yeah, he can maybe. He could. No, he doesn't have enough dwellings. He's gonna take it hard dig a dwelling and then tunnel to whatever that is in the hex on the side of the map there. He actually got more structures down than I thought he might, to be honest. He's gonna be able to get 13 down at least if he wants.
I mean, maybe there's a world. I mean, with Swarmlings and Halflings both with upgraded digs and Darklings in the game, there's no pressure on these spade actions. So maybe there's a world where BC Goa towns up, gets enough leech to take the double spade, and gets out 2 more dwellings down, without either of them being tunnels, is probably what that would have to mean. But he does have Earth 1, and it would give him network. What is that, network 14?
Yeah, that's 14.
That's got to be the ceiling for dwarves. Is a network 14, 4 structures left, which means halflings would have to trading post 3 dwelling in a landscape to beat that, which he doesn't. Yeah, so BC Go's got second on network. What am I talking about? That took me way too long to calc.
Okay, well that's good to know. I mean, Darklings are going to get to 15 structures. Pretty sure. So. Yeah, he should get to 15. He just needs the ship advance. He'll need a spot to build that. There's 1 open black hex. There's no more priest towns, so there's no. Oh no, he does have another hex there. I think Defense will find a way to 15 structures, so that'll probably be second network then. Yeah, so it's hard to see. It looks pretty close at the end between Nerdcube, Defense, and Logus. I still. I guess I'd say I like Nerdcube's spot the most. He's winning 3 cults and it's a good position on the other cult. Has Air 1 and a pass tile, so he's got a lot of points coming in the bag here. I don't know what else he's doing this round. He doesn't have too much else to do. I guess he has his trading post action. He could build another temple. But every temple he builds is also losing 2 points for the trading post pass tile, so it's not the most efficient anymore. So he doesn't have too much great to do, I don't think.
Yeah.
And we see in the chat, George is asking if we factor in the driller. That's a great point. We haven't factored in the driller, so I think Halflings are actually winning network with the driller factored in here. So that changed the math a lot.
Sure does. What does this need, the stronghold to get out? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's terrible. Although he did take water too, so I'm sure George is loving that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we see the Halflings water push kind of. He may have taken that earlier. I may have missed that, but he's definitely see the water push continuing here.
Deep Finesse is being offered some leech. He's putting some thought into. Oh, is this 4 for 3? Yeah, it is.
Yes, it looks like it.
Yeah. That is a good bit of leech. So Deep Finesse is doing his final calcs for how he wants to wrap this up and determining if he wants 2 coins probably. Or could these be? Is this a worker action that it would have been? Well, yeah, he declines it, but
yeah, I guess he's got another path. I guess he doesn't need that. I wonder what town tile he'll take, because there's coin town, there's power town, there's ship town, there's 11-point town left.
Got to be the 11-pointer.
I think so.
For Deep Finesse, I mean, it's not a ship town, it's not a power town. And it's not a coin town. Well,
That's
I guess it could be a coin town if he wants to build a bunch of I don't know. I'm assuming those coins are not worth it for him, but what do I know?
I wouldn't think so. Yeah.
I'm just a Terra Mystica commentator. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I guess the only reason you could justify taking something else is if dwarves are going to tie you on network. Although even so, probably the points are just the most worth it. I mean, dwarves aren't really competitors here for first place.
Yeah, so it's just 3 points.
So there's not really any real reason to take another town.
No.
He doesn't have Earth 1 either, so that extra dwelling doesn't give him any more points than anything else. But I wonder, is there any reason for Deep Mess to a stronghold here?
I mean,
the landscape.
I mean, the stronghold. No, I can't imagine. What is the stronghold? The stronghold comes with, if he can pull off a stronghold, this dwelling, and the landscape, then I guess the stronghold comes with 3 network points and allows him to convert his final workers into 3 priests, which is 6 points. So it's okay. So it's a 9-point stronghold, sort of. I mean, you have to subtract from that what those resources could have been with just like 2 temples and cult points or something, but.
Yeah, exactly. Or temple trading post, or whatever else you want to do. That'd be almost many points.
Yeah.
Presumably he's Sorry, I was gonna say he must be banking on getting a priest power action here, if he's not doing stronghold at least, because he does need to connect still, and he doesn't really want to get ship town, I don't think. So either that, or I guess if he has to, he can do a crazy power town, do a conversion, but that'd be terrible. But
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not the most obvious to see how he progresses here to me, at least. So I'll be curious to see what path he goes down.
Well, I think he's gambling on the fact that like the only person that can take the priest power action is BC Goa, and I don't think BC Goa is really like in a position or to like just be spending 3 power as a block. Like,
no,
you know what I mean? Like if you're fighting for like between another player for first or second, like then that kind of stuff makes sense. But I don't know that he's. I think that must be the gamble. Oh, I guess Logus can take the priest, but he doesn't.
Oh, he just didn't. Yeah, no, definitely. There's no reason for BC Goa to take it. He needs to focus on scoring as best he can himself. Only if you're really directly competing with someone, then it's worth, I think, going for a block on them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and chat's reminding me that Deep Finesse could have just taken the priest last round. So he's just, I don't know.
Oh, okay. So he must be either doing a stronghold or a ship town then. Nothing. I mean, he has to connect. Heck, he needs 1 shipping, so. Or he's just trusting that no one wants the priest, I guess. Maybe he just knows that no one else has any good need for it.
It's just not clear why he wouldn't just take the priest right now, because what, like,
Yeah, what else does he want that power for, right?
Well,
unless he really wants the coins.
No one else is founding a town, right? So there's no like pressure to race out your town.
Yeah, that's true. There's no rush at all for that. And this will be kind of telling here what he does in this turn. So looking at what else would happen, BC Goa did tunnel and do another dwelling. And he will get 1 more dwelling out with 1 more tunnel. So he did find a way to get to 14 structures here, it seems like. I think Logus put another dwelling as well. He doesn't have too many resources left, so he's not got too many more options. Mm-hmm. And we do see Deep Finesse do a temple for Air 1. Okay.
That's reasonable, but again, a little confusing why you would. Well, I guess maybe there. Well, okay, there was pressure on Air 1, so fair enough.
Yeah, or maybe he is just banking on taking a ship town now that he sees dwarves getting to 14 structures. Although, as we said before, I think it's still more worth it just to go for the 11-point town and advance shipping manually. But maybe he has that in his mind. And we do see Nerdcube do a. I was gonna call it an expensive trading post, but it's not really.
Yeah,
it's a normal trading post for Swarmlings. We do see him build it, and that makes sense. That's a 3-point trading post, factoring the bonus tile and Air 1.
Now, does Nerdcube send this last priest to fire to force BC Goa to? Yeah, he must protect his position.
I think so. I mean,
well,
either to fire. Yeah. What else would you do with it?
Well, except for with BC Goa, I think a temple for fire 2 or something just to win fire is worth quite a few points. Like, what else is BC Goa doing with his resource? Like, he's building another dwelling.
Yeah, you can tunnel and build a dwelling for 6 points. Well, actually, Logos can get another dwelling down too. Maybe not. So maybe it's not important for network. Well, it helps him tie deep, and that's important. In network would be important, but I don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Of course, he can tunnel, and he doesn't have another open gray that is accessible not through a tunnel. Yeah, so BC Go's final resources must just be to get to network 14, tunnel. Yeah, that's a really important dwelling. So that's all of his resources, and then he just has some coins left. So he'll end up with 2 resource points, possibly 3 if he gets another free leech. Logos is just turning his workers into points slowly.
Yep, just digging away. Yeah, no rush at all. Very casual. So are you a fan of math? We want to try doing some endgame math here to see who's gonna win?
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm much better at this when I'm not commentating. So
yeah.
it might be a good challenge. I think Logos is probably the easiest one to calculate now, though. Presuming he's got 4 more points in his resources with digs. Winning air, so that's 126. Well, I guess I'll send a priest to water instead of dig with that last priest. So that would be.
Yep.
I think he's gonna finish with around 137 or so with his air 1. That's my best guess for Logos at least.
Oh, he doesn't need to send his priest to water because he has. Well, he might try to tie deep finesse. He probably sends priest to water or something. He also has water too. So.
Oh yeah, he's got a cold step, right?
We'll give him a point on fire and 4 points on water. Deep finesse can also temple. We have no idea how that's going to break, but 1, 4, 8. It's like 13 cult points. 6 network. 19. So
and a couple air 1 points.
25 more points. Is 140. What did you get?
I said 137, but I forgot about the cult step too. So yeah, that seems somewhere around there is about right. Nerdkeep just passed, so we can do him easily. So he's got no network points, but he's got looks like 27 cult points.
144.
So yeah, mid 140s.
Yeah.
So clearly ahead of Logos.
But not by as much as I thought.
No, it's pretty close. I think Logos had a really solid game actually in hindsight. Like, in what looked like a pretty tough position as halflings. They pulled out like a really cool game, really interesting game. Very creative one. Not one that's part of any kind of meta, that's for sure. He kind of created his own meta as he went, and it wasn't a winning game in the end. But it was pretty solid.
Right. This temple for water 2 is quite a few points for deep finesse. He gets 4 points for building it. He loses an air 1. He loses an air 1 point. But he is now getting second on water and can make sure that he gets 3rd on fire.
Yeah, that's nice. And so he's just advancing shipping. He'll tie dwarves and network. So if we look at deep finesse's points, so he's 15 network points for 134. He's got a cult step, which is useless. It doesn't do much for him. And so for cult points, he's got 8 cult points coming up, looks like. And he also has air 1, so he's getting 3 more points with that too.
So it's 145?
Yeah, it looks like it's right around where Nerdcube is. So
Nerdcube is winning this? Did I say high 140s? I already forget.
I thought Nerdcube is also right around 145. It looks very close to me between Deep Finesse and Nerdcube. I mean, Nerdcube's had dang super close ones. I don't know if he knows he's calculated and realized Deep Finesse has beaten him, or if that's just the way he talks normally. I don't really know.
Yeah. I think Nerdcube's 145. I think Deep Finesse has this by a point.
Oh wow, okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess.
And not in chat saying Nerdcube clearly had the win if he didn't botch his 3rd town. Yeah, it's almost a tie with Deep Finesse. So give Nerdcube a town. Yeah, that's. Yeah, this was definitely.
I think we kind of underestimated Nerdcube's game the whole time too. We didn't say much about it, other than saying it was a good swarmling setup at the beginning, and we thought he had the best deal in the auction. But yeah, obviously he played it really well too, which I kind of expect. We expect with Nerdcube. We expect him to play good games all the time. He's arguably the best player right now. Maybe him or Deep Finesse. But yeah, aside from the mistake in round 5 with the digs, it was a very, very solid and clean game all around for him.
Yeah, and it's going to be close though, right? Like, it's going to be pretty close with 3 of these players all in the what is it, mid 140s here? I forget how far behind BC Goa.
Yeah, let's let the famous TM countdown
Let's just let it happen.
do its thing.
And
See if our calculations are right.
We are going to get a winner's interview here, so just hang tight, everyone, whoever it's going to be. It's so slow when you're casting and you feel this need to just fill up dead air, and you're just sitting here waiting for the call points to.
You're just waiting for it to all trickle in. I mean, yeah, I mean, well, looking back, it's still just crazy to think that all factions went for 30 points. Like, that's kind of the most memorable thing, I think, just seeing them all go off off the board like that at the start. That was very irritating. That was a good moment for sure. That was something we probably won't see again for a while in this kind of game. Yep.
Yep.
And DPS will take about 1 point.
By 1 point. Yeah, that's wow. What a tight game. There's a lot of chatter going on at the table here between these players. Yeah. NerdCube saying here, feel like not getting to D5 was.
I guess for halflings, maybe not starting at D5. Yeah.
Oh, he's talking about Logus's game. Yeah, well, right. I was kind of surprised that Logus did start on G4. Usually this D5 hex, and which is why Deep Finesse had an interesting game, because like I've never seen this stuff carved out for either black faction on this map. Like usually there's just so much activity in the center here that like another reason why Brown is good on this map is they get D5, and it's rarely part of a town. They just strand a temple or something there, and then they just get a ton of early liege. So it was interesting to sort of see him cede that territory to Darklings. But anyhow.
Yeah, it was definitely nice kind of, I guess, boon for Deep Finesse. And yeah, Logos missed out on a lot of leech there too, because you see Swellings upgrading around there, as well as Dwarves. That would have been a lot more leech for Halflings. So maybe in hindsight he regrets not starting there. Anyways, do we have Deep Finesse here?
I don't think so. I just messaged him. I guess I can.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, hey, Deep Finesse, how are ya?
Congrats on winning as usual. I think you must be getting used to winning by now.
It was a tough fight. I was under a lot of stress with the C2 hex and the small fight over dwarves. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Talk us through that a little bit. Like that seemed like kind of a spicy move almost early on for you just to plant like to invest just a single priest in there, just turning it green when there were arguably opportunities for BC Goa to be able to take it back. But yeah, just talk us into your sort of mindset on putting so much pressure on that hex so early.
Well, part of it was it's a good town spot, and because of where I decided to put my round 1 strong sanctuary, round 2 sanctuary, well, round 1 temple into round 2 sanctuary, I kinda like it just turned out to be the most convenient thing I can find.
Right.
Now someone I didn't need to increase shipping, and like even though I took 2 favorite tiles to start, and the shipping bonus tile was in the game, it still felt like I would be a little coin short, and I was kind of coin short like throughout the game. Got a couple of key coin actions, and like just barely made it through.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like connecting with 1 ship and sort of being forced to make my town there. And like I wouldn't be able to put it in the south. There was another grade in the south I could take, but that would like join with my other town. So it was
I see.
It was a little awkward.
Right.
I kind of felt I needed it.
Right. So you were always planning your like what is now a temple on F2 to be bridged down to that southern cluster to be part of a town, and that was part of why you didn't want to dig the F3 gray hex.
Yes. Also, like I would have had to dig it at probably an opportune time. Like it might have forced me to town up round 4. Because otherwise doors could tunnel there.
Right.
So it was yeah. like
Right.
it's very unfortunate I had to pick the fights. Like I'm like preferably would rather not pick fights, especially if like my economy can barely support it. But it just felt like it just felt like the path I had to take.
Right. Right.
And like I had to hope that Isagawa's like analysis was the same as mine, and it was not worth for him to take it back.
Yeah, and at first I thought he might try to make a play for it. I think Barnwell pointed this out that like he had two priests that he could have sent to water for a cult spade, and he did in fact pass before you. Like there were opportunities for him to take it, but it wasn't until like the round after that it made sense to me of like, oh, he's just going to build a sanctuary there, and you're just going to allow him to tunnel up through to those hexes anyhow, so you guys can just kind of coexist, and why fight over a green hex for BC Goa, so it did kind of make sense for him.
Yeah.
One other thing. Sorry, go ahead, Barnwell.
I was gonna say one question I had was one thing we were curious about, we almost didn't expect was the sanctuary in round 2, which is funny because as Darklings you almost always want to get the sanctuary up early, but we thought you might do a second temple just for the points and to save on your coins for a bit and do the sanctuary in round 4. So I'm curious, like, was that ever in your thought process, or did you always know you were going to transition to Sanctuary right away in round 2?
Yeah, no, I was considering the temple for a long time too. That would have made my town spot a little more flexible. I didn't like have to commit my sanctuary. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I like at the end time right now, I had to make a decision, so I really don't know about that.
So it was close for you, like. Those two decisions were pretty comparable in a sense.
Yeah, yeah. Like I couldn't quite figure out how to compare one versus the other to just yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've definitely played Darklings where I've been unable to sort of evaluate that, because it would have hit the track quite a bit better just to temple up and then Sanctuary later on, and giving you the flexibility for the town. But at the same point, and Burnwell and I were talking about this on stream, is like you building that second temple to double up on your priest production is no small thing. Literally removes an entire worker production off your board, which is basically the equivalent of like Earth 2. So it's just one of those interesting things of like, how bad is that? And it's one of those things I still feel like I don't quite have a handle on, of like, how many track points does it need to be worth it for that? So, yeah.
One of the most like fascinating things we thought in this game was the auction, with every faction going at 30. I don't know about you, but I almost never see that on high level play. So I was curious about your thoughts on the auction. Like, were you happy with Darklings at 30? Like, did you think you got a good deal, or that you'd have to bid them down a little bit?
I think I think Darklings I think they're actually pretty close to each other. Swarmlings, Halflings, and Darklings. So like I'm not quite confident which one is better. Like the problem I saw with Swarmlings is that even with the landscape, they might, and Nerdcube did get stranded, so they're like, he still scored a very high gain. Like getting his stronghold stranded and having no stronghold sanctuary scoring tiles. I'm not quite sure how he did that. And yeah, I think Halflings is maybe a tiny bit behind, but not by much, because I do like Halflings a lot on this.
Right.
Yeah, we thought that if anything, Halflings would maybe be the 30 faction. Everything else would be bid down a little bit. But it kind of just goes by principle. Like, anytime you get Darklings as a 30 faction, like, it's usually pretty good. It depends on the map, it depends on the situation, but it usually can't be too bad of a thing.
I think Dwarves was probably the weakest. Like by maybe 5 points. They don't seem very good to me on this map, even with the landscape, and even though like they're the only non-sandwich faction, because Darklings and Swarmlings play on opposite sides of the map.
Yeah, that's a good
point. I think Dwarves had a lot of potential not being in a sandwich. It's not a great map for them, but if they can get to the hexes they want, and with their landscape in the center, they have a lot of tunnelable options. But with Darklings and Halflings and maybe Swarmlings like potentially digging their hexes, it's a lot more dangerous.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a good point. Maybe just of the safety factor, they'd be the 30 faction then, or just of the danger factor of them.
One interesting thing that happened very early on in the game during like opening placements was like the fact that brown, like Halflings, didn't start on D5, and I feel like so often people who played Lakes quite a bit know how like coveted that hex is for brown factions. I'm just sort of wondering, like, if you were particularly surprised the Brown didn't start there, and like how much of an edge you felt like that might have given you, the fact that you were able to take, this D4 D5 town, which I've literally never seen on Lakes after 100 games for a black faction.
Yeah, I think Brown should well, I'm not sure. I would have started there, but I don't like. Logan's starting spot was pretty attractive too, because it wasn't clear that Swarmlings was going to go for double dig. And if Swarmlings didn't go for double dig, then Halflings, like with Logan's starting spot, that's like the only spot that gives him a dwelling spree.
Right.
Because he can dig left and right. So I think that's like a good hedge. But we're talking about in chat how he probably should have dug upwards instead of rightwards and just taken that with his round 1 dig and Temship.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So, like, given all of the stuff that sort of happened here, I'm just sort of curious, going into this game, taking Darklings and sort of like in a sandwich situation, how like what was your game plan, sort of at the beginning of the game, and how much did that change sort of throughout the game as things progressed?
I think it was pretty on script. Like getting to build a town easier in the middle definitely helped a lot. And like getting to connect with one ship. But I was planning to start on these 2 locations and hoping Swarmlings doesn't join me. Yeah.
Right. And what about the favor tile selection? Like, just talk me through that briefly, because it's not all the time that you see sort of a double econ Darklings opening. Was that sort of your game plan going into this, or was that something that just sort of made sense in the first round or 2 based on how the power actions broke
Yeah,
for you?
I think a lot of it was how the bonus tiles broke. There were 2 coin bonus tiles, and I saw that. Well, I missed out on them round 2, and it just felt like my economy needed some help to actually do something. Right. I was gonna just get stuck for the rest of the game.
Right. Yeah, fair enough.
Makes sense. Yeah, we're seeing big econ openings win more and more in these big games. So
yeah,
that's definitely a trend. And yeah, you gave another notch onto that. So we'll see if that continues later on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any sort of final words for us, Deep Finesse? Final comments?
I don't know. Looking forward to the game next week, and hopefully we get something as different as like this.
Yeah,
different from base map.
Yeah, fair enough.
I agree.
That's awesome. Well, look, congratulations on an incredible game. It was a pleasure to watch this game and to cast with Barnawal and stuff. Huge congrats to you. Very well played. Obviously a tight game. So good luck next week as well.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks,
yeah,
guys.
good luck.
Have a good evening. And thanks to everyone for tuning in, for hanging with us. It's been a lot of fun to have everyone in chat and for all the comments throughout. It's been really great. Any final words or comments from you, Barnawal, before we wrap things up?
No, I think I've said everything that I wanted to say about the game. No, thanks for having me as your co-commentator. As I said, it's always fun to commentate these games. And yeah, I agree with DFNS. It's fun to have a non-base map game, have an interesting like combination of factions and strategies here. So no, it's been a good time, and I'm looking forward to watching some more of the Tuesday League games later this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's great. Well, we'll stop it there, folks. Thanks everyone so much once again for tuning in. If you're playing in other Tuesday League divisions later this evening, good luck on your games, and we'll see you again next week. Bye for now.